Good morning, everyone. This is the first of what we hope will be a series of webinars taking the pulse on qualitative research across the world. So this is the first one that actually looks at Europe. We're very proud to have representatives from France, Italy, Germany and Romania on this one, and of course, Britain. So I'd like to introduce them in no particular order. Judy and Debbie are both board members. Judy has spearheaded this particular one, and Debbie is here as wing woman because Judy is in France and doesn't know whether her internet connection will survive, but we hope it will. Maria Bilyk is the deputy or is the qualitative lead at Ipsos BVA in France. Marco is CEO of Eumetra International in Italy. Oana Popa Rengle is the owner of Anamnesis in Romania. And Dirk is the co-founder of Concept M in Germany. I'll pass it over with pleasure to Judy.
Hi, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us this morning on an autumnal Monday. And the team here were very interested in making sure that we start conversations as a group of European researchers who also probably have global reach in a lot of what we do, to understand what's happening in our industry and to really dig slightly deeper than maybe we usually do on very specific issues around who we are, what we do, why we're important and valuable, and how we can progress to shape our industry to be as effective and more compelling into the future. So we designed a few questions which each of us are going to take it in turns to lead responses to, and we'd love you to post in questions, comments, builds, debates, and we will at the end open this up to a Q&A for the last 10-15 minutes. The session should last about 45 minutes, and we'd like to start with question number one, which is really about where qualitative research is at the moment. Is it more or less significant to research buyers and marketers than it used to be? If it isn't, why isn't it? If it is, what is it that's driving its interest? And or is it about the same as it's always been? And are we having to adapt what we do rather than keep ourselves, the same old, same old? So I'd like to start by asking Marco to lead us on this one. Marco?
Thank you, Judy. Thank you, Luella, for the introduction and for the invitation of myself and Eumetra at this very exciting roundtable. So straight to your question, I can see overall stability of quality research, but there are significant geographical differences. If you look at the relative weight of qualitative research compared to quantitative, it's remained fairly stable. If you look at, for example, the ESMA Global Market Research Report in the coming 2025 edition, the president was very kind in anticipating the result they're going to show at the ESMA Congress in Prague in a few weeks' time. So we are observing the same global share for quantitative and qualitative as 2024, so 70% quant and 14% quant. However, there are significant differences across countries. For example, in Italy, or I would say in general in Latin countries, the percentage of quant is significantly higher at around 20-25%. If I then reflect in the last 20-25 years of my experience, and we look at the technological evolution and new channels, so since 2010, there was the evolution of online research, then there was the advent of collaborative agile research platform, and then more recently AI. All this great technology innovation has really enabled a more direct contact with consumers and generate volumes of verbatims that really and data that were previously unimaginable. Will research remain relevant in the future? I think that it will. Research will stay relevant, but in my opinion, I can see an increasingly fragmented and specialized world. I explain myself better, and then I finish to speak. So on one side, there is a proliferation of tactical studies. I can see a lot of concept tests, spec tests, copy tests supported by new collaborative technology, Popa community, MLOC, and so on. On the other hand, and here, and I'm presenting South Europe, even if I'm based in the UK, we see a reduction in exploratory studies, but those that remain play a more strategic and consultancy-oriented role. So really today, deep consumer understanding is expected. The difference comes in terms of value from senior researcher and psychology, anthropologists, senioticians, really capable to detect weak signal and turning them into strategic insights. So it is very relevant, but I think, we need to keep all the best of what quality research it is really.
Thank you very much. Oana, do you want to add anything to that from Marco?
Yeah, I mean, about the weak signals, which is, I think it's such an important topic for quality research, because we are experts in identifying these weak signals. And I was thinking, again, one of our expertise or what we bring to the table versus the other modalities of research is context. And looking at the larger context that we as an industry are now, on one hand is this technological context, the AI and everything, but I will not bring maybe this subject so early on in the topic. But then there is the socio-political context that I think is so relevant throughout the world, throughout Europe, specifically in my country, particularly also. And this socio-political context is about what's really going on in the hearts and minds of people. And the world seems to have missed that. The world seems to have been surprised by the intensity of the movements in the past years. And I think this highlights even more the need for quality research to go there deep, to see those weak signals. And I think this projects a very positive future for us and how much we are needed.
That's really interesting. Maria, you're nodding there.
I would like to build on that, because I think we're in a good spot with the qualitative approach now, because in France, we see that human insight, consumer centricity, it becomes more essential for business. It's not optional now, because with the emergence of automated solutions, synthetic data, real data, observation, real context becomes more meaningful and essential now. But for us, is the challenge where these human insights comes from. Is it comes only from qualitative or not? Because now what we see, and it's challenge for us as qualitative researchers, it can come from social listening, it can come from behavioral data, even from quant, because quantitative colleagues now are capable to add more open-ended questions, ethnographic data in their research, and the borders between qualitative, quantitative, it's really blurring. So now we need to claim our territory and what we stand for. So that for me is the challenge to think about.
Very, very interesting. So moving on, Maria, to my next question, which is probably an extension of that one. Do you think budgets have changed and for the people buying research from us? And if so, how have they changed, and how is this affecting what we recommend and how we work?
I would say that we observe an interesting paradox now, because from one hand, we really see the budget pressure on the client side. So they decrease their budgets, they have more in-house research, even in qualitative, which was not the case before. So, but at the same time, the demand for insight, for business impact is even higher than before. So from one hand, the budget squeeze, but they need more insight. So for us, it's more about different context, how we spend these budgets. It's more about bringing speed to qualitative research, because they don't want to invest and to pay for long data collection, but now it's all about real-time insight and activation, bringing impact to business. So we need to think how we change from 1 month, 2 months project cycle to, I don't know, 2 weeks or even 3 days qualitative, agile, and speedy research. So we see that budgets really become smaller, and we need to think how we spend them smarter. So what would be smarter?
That's it. I mean, Debbie, do you have a view from the UK on this and how budgets have changed over the last couple of years?
I think most definitely budgets have changed. I think clients are thinking a lot harder about how to change their budgets, or sorry, how to spend their budgets. I run a quant agency, and I feel people are more prepared to spend on quant than they are on qual, whereas 10 years ago, that was very different. I think people had a bit more preparedness and they understood qual more. So they were like, actually, I think they understood the value that qual was bringing a bit more than perhaps they do today.
Marco, do you agree with that, or is it different in Italy?
No, the dynamic are very similar. You know, there's a huge pressure from a central procurement department, and you know, they tend to think in terms of standardization and price, you know, compression. That's sometimes not 100% compatible with qual for the same reason that I mentioned before. Then you know, qual, you know, in its consultancy form, it should involve really specialized people, not always the cheapest people on the market, and so, but the dynamics are very similar. And as I say, there is this really like we are living in this dual world. So on one side, cost cutting and cost pressure will bring more and more to standardization and DIY tool or AI, and on the other end, there will be more value-seeking, kind of boutique, high-impact project provided by the consultancy that can really, you know, position themselves, like detecting the famous weak signal that we were talking about earlier on in this call.
Okay, so Dirk, going on to you know, the other side of this, I wonder if you have a view on how research departments have actually changed. So, you know, in client companies, have they evolved, and is that affecting, you know, how we are being bought and the types of things we are being asked to do you think?
I think that's a difficult question because the world of market research departments is so diverse. There are so many things going on, whether it's a big corporation, a small corporation, and I can really agree to a lot of things Oana has says and Maria has says that I think there are two driving forces which lead to the evolvement of the department. One force is a growing insecurity. So inflation, political instability, job concerns, all add up to a climate of unease among the consumers. And it's very difficult for the market research departments to create a positive, somehow, optimistic outlook on what to do with the market. And they definitely need more support, and that I would agree with Oana, in contextualizing socio-political trends to the market. Think of, we had some movement some years ago about purpose marketing, and in a highly polarized society, it's very difficult which purpose to proclaim, and this wave is somehow over, and it's very, very difficult so for the departments to get an orientation there. And the other driving force is the ongoing fragmentation of all these generations, and Gen X, Gen Z, Gen Y, Gen Alpha. So it's hard for the market research department to maintain an overview and not just go with the trend hypes and all these superficial things and overhyped things. And then again, I definitely agree to Maria, so that a lot of the research is commissioned internally, just tactical. So it's important for the market research departments also to maintain a position that they're not just the service department where the marketing guys just draw some information from on a very superficial level, but that they are asked for the more in-depth things, the strategic things, not just the tactical things. And there are no budgets for that. So I see they are in a really difficult situation. It's not just they would like to spend more money and it's a budget thing, but it's also an orientation thing.
I think one of the things that has occurred to me is that they don't always have the power internally that they used to have. Market research buyers and marketers are much more directly involved in commissioning research and dealing with the outputs, whereas before I think it would go through these experts in market research to do quite a lot of the disseminating of the data and the collating of it. It doesn't seem to be the case in my experience in the same way anymore. Does anybody else agree or disagree with that?
Yeah, I would agree on that, meaning that maybe not specifically commissioned directly from marketing people, but what we see that when even consumer insights are commissioning the research, marketing teams, R&D teams are more and more involved, even sales teams. So for me, it's again about speed and go to the market. So they want to be involved at the very beginning, and the role actually of consumer insights and our client now is more being like insight activators internally than just research buyers as it was before. So now they need to, like, it only starts when the insights is found. It's only the beginning. The next step, how you embed it, how you cascade what you do internally, and how you speed up and go to the market quickly.
And building on that, how connected, I don't know, Marco or Oana, whether you have a view on this, how connected are we to those market research buyers? I used to have a desk in the research department at GSK, and I was so much a part of their team. And the same at Tesco. I don't know if that still happens anymore. I mean, I certainly don't have a desk anywhere anymore, but that's an interesting, maybe that's an interesting shift. Marco or Oana, do you have a view?
I had a thought that maybe connects to that in a way, because listening to you, I was thinking also about what was happening in the past since the pandemic, with the research being more mediated, moving online, all these automated tools. So it's more mediated than direct contact with and what's happening with the young people on the client side and on our researcher side that started in the pandemic, during the pandemic, and having this, I see it with my very young clients that they need to grasp more. And they are, at least my personal experiences, they want to be involved not only in the design and deciding on the objectives and how we disseminate the insights afterwards, but they want to be involved. They want to accompany me in field. They want to get to see, get to listen, use video, be as much involved as possible. And I think it's this counter effect of being so much more removed now from the actual real life.
Marco, do you have something to add to this?
Yeah, very, very quickly. Of course, first of all, in Italy, South Europe, the size of the market research department are kind of much smaller compared to the typical UK market research department. Sometimes it's like one person show or 2-3 person show, even for big multinational with their quota in Italy. And therefore, there is less specialization and more like the consumer insight director tends to act more as a orchestrator or insight activator, really in terms of data integration, storytelling, relationship with the stakeholder, and business impact. So I can see gradually maybe less as a counterpart in the company, a less technical person, but more business-like person, and therefore when maybe before you had a insight manager that had a agency background. Now I don't see that situation that many times, so therefore you need to be ever more consultative in your approach, really to sell the full package and the business impact of the results, and less the technical sides of things.
I know, Oana, I mean, you were really answering the question I was going to ask you, which is how unique your market is compared to other markets in terms of how qualitative research is approached. And a lot of what you said, I could echo in the UK. I think that remoteness that young research buyers had has meant they really want to be, involved in a very visceral way with their consumers. And there's a lot of activity on consumer salience and, people first and consumers building the insights. I don't know if that's happening in Germany and in Paris or in France rather. Are you seeing the same, Maria?
Yeah, I think the same. It's more about, if we take it broader, it's about the new, I would say, profile of the qualitative researcher, what skills they need to have from the junior to the senior ones. So, and to me, I wouldn't say it depends on specific market. Probably it goes more by region, I would say. So in Europe, like what we're discussing now, we see quite many similarities in terms of what is happening in our countries. And I would say it would be interesting to see if it's how it compares to the Asian market, to Americas, so to see bigger, if it's really global thing, or we have these specificities by specific country or market. Because to me, if we speak about, I don't know if it's French specific or not, it's interesting to check with you, for example, the relations with the clients, now they change, and we clearly see that they treat us more as a partners. They want us to help them to reinvent even the research cycle, how we treat the research, what place it takes. So they really need help because, they're under pressure themselves. Things change with the disruption of AI, speeding up in general with the political pressure. So, they need us, and they really treat us, most of them, as partners, helping them to go through this cycle together. So it's interesting to see if it's relevant for other countries in Europe as well.
I was going to ask Dirk, actually. I know we're going on to AI in a sec, Maria, and you're going to lead us on that one. But Dirk, do you think your relationship with research buyers is different from any of these conversations, or?
I coming back to the last point is consumer immersion, that the marketeers and the market researchers want to participate very directly, go to all the in-home interviews and so on. So this has a positive but also a problematic side. So the positive really is that it's good that they get into contact and real life contact, and sometimes for the first time get away from their desk and really understand what's going on in the everyday life of the consumers. That's quite positive. But
the downside?
The downside is that basically they're not really qualified to understand how in-depth interviews running, and also they take superficial impression, anecdotal proof, and takes that for the final results of the research. And it also takes a lot of time of them, and this is somehow the downside. So it's good to create very condensed, focused formats like this co-creation things and sprint things to get that reconciled, that they participate, but that they also see that they're not get stuck in details of individual interviews. They spend all days just driving around, see 2 interviews, and this forms their whole knowledge and their whole views on the market. That's problematic.
Okay, thank you. So we touched on a couple of times, and we've all bitten our tongues and said, let's not talk about that yet. But it is the elephant in all of our rooms. And I think it's a very, positive element in lots of ways, and one we're all cautious about in others. So Maria, over to you really with this. How do you think it's shaping? I know you're very involved in developing AI tools as part of your qualitative offer. Can you talk to us a bit about AI and where we're at the moment, do you think, as an industry?
I will try to keep it short because it can be a topic of a separate discussion, right?
Of course.
Yeah, but definitely no doubt that AI is one of the biggest disruption in the markets and for qualitative research in particular. But I think we are lucky and in a good spot because we clearly see the areas where human intelligence, human insight cannot be replaced with AI, at least at the moment. So when it comes to behaviors, when it comes to emotions, so we still irreplaceable. But and at the same time, AI without human intelligence, without human insight, it's really average. It lacks soul. But if we don't acknowledge that it really disrupts our industry, then we would be lagging behind, because AI brings scale to qualitative research. It brings speed and capabilities we didn't think before about. So let's speak about moderation bots, digital twins, AI ideation, AI curation. So that's the enablers and things which help us to speed up our research. And you clearly see a lot of platforms and digital players who try to play at this territory, creating moderation bots, synthetic respondents, and who say that you can go 100% synthetic, for example, now, or you can go with the AI moderation bot and it will work. And we see that our clients are piloting these solutions. So it's really there. And I think that our mission as qualitative, qualitative researchers, truly qualitative researchers, is to show to the market what are the limitations and what are opportunities of AI, because we can clearly show where it can play the role. And we already see use cases where we can go with AI moderation, for example. And the year, 1 year before, Ipsos presented at SOMAR the paper, which was called Empathy or Emptiness. And actually it was digging into digital twins, into AI moderation. We did our research on research to see where it goes, where are limitations and opportunities. And this year we go further. We want to see if technology is already there to replace your favorite moderator or not, for example. So if it's still, there are some limitations. So I think that we need to be in front of this AI disruption. So as qualitative researchers, this is our responsibility to show what is feasible, what is not, but it's already there. So we need to acknowledge that in a year or in 2 years, we will definitely face this new reality. It will be part of our job. And that's where it goes. So now we're in this experimenting, piloting mode, and I think that we need to take the lead on that.
Thank you. That's really interesting. And I know, Dirk, your company have been developing a lot of AI, very progressive, very innovative tools to accompany more traditional research methods. Oana, what about feedback? What's that? I don't know what that is, but maybe, I don't know if it's coming, which country it's coming from, but it's
probably not from here, so I might
Marco,
go on.
You go on mute, just.
It's perfectly silent here, but I can mute.
That's better.
No, it's
it's calm now. Apologies, everybody. Oana, can you just tell me about from your perspective?
Yeah. I'm trying to pick one idea and go with that and be short. But I just want to say that research on research that Ipsos did that Maria referenced was absolutely fascinating, and I recommend anybody who can get their hands on it to really read and understand both where AI can help and also where it still lacks a lot and where we can bring more. But I feel that we are obviously at a stage of embracing what AI can do, and there are so many stages in the research where it can really help. And for an independent consultant like myself, I feel the help that AI can bring in my day-to-day work a lot. But I feel the need to say that the more automated the world becomes, the more vital it is to remind that insight that has depth cannot be mass produced. And the more I fear that the more expert AI gets, and I'm talking about interpretation here, because I think that's what our edge at the end of the day. It's about sense making and interpreting what's going on there. And here, because of this generative AI, and because AI is becoming so adept at analyzing words, we face the risk of this being called qualitative. And as Maria was mentioning earlier, the blurring of the lines, I feel that there is the risk that we use qualitative we exaggerate, we put the label of qualitative on stuff that's not really qual. It's maybe pattern identifying and like anecdotal data that Dirk was mentioning, but I think we need to really protect these boundaries and the meaning of qual, which means again context, culture, interpretation, nuance, all of these.
I think that's really interesting. Debbie, do you have anything to add to that from a UK perspective? Sorry.
And I would absolutely echo what Maria is saying in terms of embracing, and what Oana is saying in terms of embracing what AI can do. I also think that there is something that we need to learn about being transparent about where we have used AI and where we haven't used AI. I think it's really important if you look at different categories. For example, some of our financial services clients, they're extremely nervous about actually the use of AI within qualitative research, because what they're saying is, well, we really need to know that you are talking to real people, that actually you're seeing you're taking the pulse of what real people think. So I think it's not only incumbent upon us to get ahead of AI, but it's also incumbent upon us to be really transparent in terms of where we're using AI, how it's enabling us to do better jobs, to do a better qualitative job, and also absolutely embracing what AI can do for us, because it can do an awful lot. It's absolutely fantastic in some instances. But I think that clients are experimenting, clients are trying to get ahead of the game, and our job is to help them with that.
That's really important. So on to my sort of penultimate question, really, and it's an extension of this conversation. I'll start with you, Marco, which is how do we see qualitative research evolving? If we were sitting here in 2 years' time, how would things be different, both from our perspective as practitioners and also from our clients' perspectives?
Yeah, I believe that not the pursuit of happiness, but the pursuit of qual research is fundamental. That this holistic understanding of the consumer. No, so for qualitative research to remain relevant, it must increasingly integrate with social and ethnographic research. The goal is not really to analyze only category, usage, attitude, and preference, but to really capture the complexity of consumer daily lives, where the same person can play multiple roles in the day. He can be an insurance client in the morning. He can play the weekly shopping order in the afternoon, and so on. So that holistic understanding of the consumer is extremely important. And then if we try to imagine qualitative research in 10 years from now, of course, in responding to this very ambitious question, I kind of brainstorm my idea, my experience, my opinion with our two head of qual in Eumetra. And I think it came out something very interesting, because in the past, qualitative studies were often seen as exploratory, correct? Anticipating quantitative research. And in the future, in a world where not only dominated by AI, but in a world strongly shaped by the availability of data, a lot of big data that came even before AI, really the role of qualitative will be more to interpret the existing data. So really pointing towards the ultimate question that so what, which is an interesting role for qualitative research, not maybe one that we have been used to, but that's our educated guess on what's going to happen in 10 years' time. And indeed, maybe echoing what has already been said, the complementarity between AI and human intelligence is going to be fundamental. AI excel at connecting patterns. All of you might have used or experiment ChatGPT or more specific digital twin tools. They are really fascinating what they can do. Really fascinating what they can do in terms of generating hypotheses, providing efficient summaries at scale, but it really lacks the ability to capture context, emotion, and differentiation, really making it, in my opinion, still a tactical tool. And while really human intelligence remains essential for interpreting weak signal, managing contradiction, because AI is always it's a probabilistic approach, correct? So it's always putting the emphasis on the average. And rather, maybe in Qual, we should put more emphasis into the outlier, the people that they are saying something different than the current status quo, because maybe this can anticipate a future trend and a method and so on. So that's really, I don't think that the Qual role in the future will be less than now, but will be a bit different and ever more focused on the answering the question and the so what.
Thank you, Marco. That's really interesting. And then just to wrap up, Dirk, if you want to add to that, or just talk to us a little bit about maybe what might sustain or improve the status of Qual in the future.
Maybe sometimes it's good to disagree. So I would disagree.
Go for it.
A lot of things.
It's definitely possible to disagree in this forum
about AI, because there is no one AI. There are lots of versions, and the field is still strongly evolving. And we have a great chance as qualitative researchers to use our domain expertise and in the human consumer mind and in the human consumer psychology, sociology, to train new versions of AI, which do a much better job than what now a little bit contributes to the downfall in the hype cycle. You all know the Gartner hype cycle, and generative AI is now nearing the bottom there, the valley of tears, it's called, and we will come at one point to the plateau of productivity with the AI. But it will be a different concept of AI, the augmented intelligence instead of the artificial intelligence. I also would disagree that AI is not capable of simulating emotions and complex psychological behavior. We all at our institute, and we have a basic research unit for that, and doing we have an AI lab and studied that for 2 years now. So there will be a lot of progress there. And I think also, to come back to a further part of the discussion, I think the role of market research and marketing will blend. There won't be those silos in future. So the market researcher will become more the strategic insight consultants with the knowledge how to translate their insight knowledge into marketing, tactical and strategic measures. And the marketeers will open up and will be closer to an insight-driven marketing. And I think Qual has a unique chance to be a driving force for all these trends, because Qualitative sees the context. There's no, I think the fear that AI will substitute real interviews, and so it's not necessary, because in the end it will be hybrid and very fast and interactive systems of AI, synthetic data, and real qualitative interviews. And I think the next 5 years will be very disruptive and interesting, and a great journey into this territory.
Well, that's a very positive note to end the discussions on, unless anybody else on the panel has anything burning to add to all those conversations. And I know we have skimmed the surface, but I think it was a really interesting tour of where we are. Do we have any questions from our listeners, Luella? Anything? I can't hear you, Luella. You're mute. I think you're mute.
I'm not.
Oh, now I can hear you.
We have no questions, which is
no questions,
which has never happened. I have one.
Yes.
Which was that I was really interested. I think it was Oana was talking about the younger generation wanting to be more involved at every step of it. And I was wondering whether part of the problem seems to be a lack of understanding about what qualitative research can do. Might this rapprochement increase knowledge, and indeed might it have an effect on what qualitative research can do? If that makes sense.
Oana, does that make sense?
I think it actually comes from an intuition, a very good intuition about what qualitative research can do. I mean, okay, I haven't been in a large agency for years, but I've heard stories about new talent, new hires, hearing these stories of quality research since before the pandemic, these huge immersions, interactions, and so on, and looking at it like it's something very aspirational and that they don't get to do. And when someone gets to do it, it's the senior staff rather than the very young staff. So I feel it's again pushing us forward because it's an intuition on what it can do, and it brings a good skepticism about the limitations of doing it with so much mediation in between.
Interesting. Marco?
The question is if Gen Z or the new generation can bring a new perspective in qual, or sorry,
yes.
or they will, like everything else in society, and that's why there is so much focus now on Gen Z to analyze all the different facets, the way that this generation thinks, act, and yeah, I think that there will be will both from a agency perspective. I think it will be very important to have Gen Z on board as cultural mediators, and it will be very interesting to see how this new generation of researchers will evolve. Qual, decoding the signal, the weak signal that are important for their generation, which are different than for I can say our generation, having similar age. So absolutely, and they are the one best suited to keep managing the integration between human intelligence and the future version. Of course, AI is not a static thing, no? It will evolve over time, and the future release of AI that will try to be more and more, to include more and more also empathy and emotion. So yes, I think that they will provide a very positive contribution to the industry.
We have had a sort of a response to this, or an additional question, which is about companies talking about the pyramid becoming an obelisk. So senior people will win out. To your point, Oana, and how are we going to train younger people in skills that will hold value, because the juniors may not be needed under AI. And I think this is something that I've certainly thought quite a lot about, because it would be interesting to know from maybe you, Maria, who's in a big organization, do you find that the balance of power of the staff you need and the people, how they're learning is changing?
That's actually the burning question for us as well. And it's a good one, because I'm not sure we have an answer now, but clearly it will change the way we train juniors, the skills they need to gain. Because, when we used to be juniors, I don't know, we spent years when we developed this gut feeling for insights. So you can spot an insight reading between the lines. So how we do it now, because there is a risk that with AI, it all will become average, plain. And if we train our younger generation on AI only, it won't help us. So we will, and in this case, we don't need them actually, because then AI can replace the junior researcher. But the challenge for us is to train this, I would say, future consultancy skills in parallel with AI. So how we do that, what is the process? So that's actually, I hope in the next session, maybe in a year or half a year, we'll have an answer. But yeah.
I also think if we do, I think to your point right at the beginning, Maria, we need to do this also for Asia, for the Americas. We want to take each continent, and I will be really interested to understand the differances between the continents and how they're approaching this. We've had a couple more questions. No, even more. One person asking about the privacy of research participants during times of AI, and do you think people are feeling vulnerable at this time more in terms of their privacy than they might have been before? Dirk, do you think that's going to be an issue?
I think it can be an issue, but rather it would be disinformation, because also before we took the material from qualitative research and built something like personas and things like that in the world before AI, and that's already, in that sense, possibly questionable if private things get mixed up and condensed into one persona, which I took from my interview. So with the AI process, it's not different. It's the same process, I think. There
I
might
think she
be,
meant not only privacy, but also anonymity, which I think is quite interesting. She's just put that up. So it's not just about the privacy of research participants, but their anonymity.
Yeah, but anonymity is very important, and everything remains anonymous from any given interview. So
Marco,
however
do you
we process it.
Yeah, well, there is different type of AI. There is kind of general, just to abstract, because again, it could be a separate topic for 3 days and discussion. But you got general AI tools like ChatGPT being maybe the most important one, and it is really everything you feed into it, it becomes basically kind of fine-tune the algorithm and the future search and the future analysis. But then there is more private tools that segregate the data of the respondents, and then they might really go back to the larger more language model available on the web. So actually, if anything, I can see a separation of the player. They produce this very sophisticated AI tool like digital twins tool, and compared to traditional market research agency. But in leverage on this tool, I think that the privacy, the data privacy, and the anonymity, they are very well preserved.
Yeah, and that's I think very important that any AI solution you use, no data ever should be flowing into the general ChatGPT model, or you need to work on an encapsulated module, on an encapsulated server environment where nothing is ever going into the internet from that, into the general.
One more really interesting question here, which is someone mentioned the need for the word qual not to be misused by new tech solutions that aren't qual. I think that might have been you, Debbie, mentioned that, or Oana, I can't remember. How can we as an organization, the AQR, or researchers in general, support that? Because it has already happened to the detriment of our industry, as this person points out. And I think that is a really interesting question, how we make sure that what we do is different from what AI can achieve. Maria?
For me, it's the question, where we stand at what qualitative is. Is it only about deep human exploratory research, or it really evolves with the technology? So, for example, if we call it qual at scale, it's still qual, but it's qual at scale. So we need to explain what it is, how it is different from quantitative. But it's still qual. For me, it means just we move from qualitative as it used to be maybe 10 years ago, 5 years ago. So it evolves now. And we need to be very clear in the use cases. So for example, if we call it qual at scale, then we say where it can be used, what are the limitations, what is the benefits of it, and where it's a deep human research. So when it is useful, when we use it, and how we do it. So, for me, qualitative, the diversity becomes broader. So going from deep, from behavioral science, cultural intelligence. So that's what qual used to be, to broader, I would say, broader scale of what qualitative is about. So that...
If I may add just a little comment on that, because I feel that we need to hang on more to what you say qualitative used to be. And I feel the way associations it's what we promote. You know, I've been involved in the past year a lot in having some sort of global approach of visibility on what qual researchers are proud of. I've been judging some international awards, being on the speaking committee of some international conferences. So I got a lot of things that qual researchers want to promote and are proud of. And I got to see this huge fascination with scale to the detriment on what qual used to be. And which is like Marco was saying, you know, the outlier, the quirkiness, the power of n equals 1. And I fear that in this, so many techniques, so many methods, so much access to scale, I don't want us to lose the power of n equals 1. And this is what the conferences, the awards, the associations keep this balance in what they promote as great success stories or people they want to show to the world as great qualitative
I wonder
research.
if it goes in both directions, Oana, because I've seen a lot of qual at scale, which I'm not convinced it's qual, but anyway, that's my prejudice. But I've also seen mini qual, but very, very in depth. And I've been on a judging panel for some awards. And of the entries, 2/3 of them were about very small scale, very in-depth qual, working for months with a small group of, say, 30 consumers, bringing them into the business, running workshops, living and breathing their lives, and on the basis of that, making quite major business decisions. And I think that's interesting because I think that's, Dirk, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit my and our definition from, we are an in-depth psychological boutique agency, and we always say qual is about fundamental insights, not superficial. But so that means that we want to understand the structures, which in the end drive the, which explain the driving forces of market situations and consumer behavior. And it's not so much about is this a fast study and a tactical study, but if you only operate on a superficial level, just observing phenomena and just reporting phenomena, and you never come from the phenomena to the structures, you never get the power of qual in work, and I think that where I agree with Oana, that's the power also an individual interview, which allows us just this one interview. So you had 10 interviews which were rather superficial, and then there is this one interview which gives you an entire new insight and explains everything before. That's also the beauty of qual, and I think that's what motivates. And I think we also have to get that spirit to the young generation, that they understand it's more than putting the button and get everything connected with AI. I don't think this would really be a nightmare. And the challenge to work with the new generation is that they have an entirely different socialization with media. They're not reading books. They're not so much.
They're behaving very differently.
So very different.
In the spirit of Laura Kunzberg, I'm now going to say we have 1 more minute to answer 2 more questions because 2 more have popped up. And but we need to wrap up soon. So maybe we've got 2 minutes to ask 2 questions. One is, with the advent of AI, clients have expressed that respondents might use AI to answer OBB tasks, and should fieldwork partners add more assurance to clients that their respondents will not use AI, and how can we address this concern? Who'd like to answer that one? Maybe Marco?
So I need to understand the question before answering.
So basically, I think what they're saying is, should we make sure that respondents aren't using AI to answer the questions that we're asking them?
I can take that, Marco, if you'd like me to. I think if you're working with a good platform or community user, they will back check everything for you, and that's one of the fail safes that we as qualitative researchers need to understand, that actually participants can be using AI. Like, we need to be cognizant of that, but also this is one of the areas that I think is about the changing face of our skill set. We need to be aware that is happening, and we need to make sure that whatever platform we're using actually has got fail-safes in hand for that. So this is all about the changing nature of our industry, I think.
And Maria, you're nodding at that one as well.
Yeah,
So,
and it happens. It happens. We can see, especially on the communities, like online qualitative. So we can spot the answers which our respondents are smart, right, and lazy at the same time. So we just need to be aware of that and check this, blacklist those who use AI, and I mean.
The last question to all panelists, I'm very interested to hear their opinion about which country or countries they feel that are nowadays commissioning leading into the multi-country qual research projects. It used to be the UK, but is it still the UK? Let's start with Oana. Should we start with you?
I will first say hi to Sylvia for this question, and it's nice to see she's here. For Romania, or for me specifically, I would say it's still UK, but it's a very subjective point of view.
I wanted to
for
know.
me specifically, for my business, it is still UK for the multi-country.
Dirk? Oh, that noise. I don't know where it's coming from, but it's very loud.
So actually, I had some noise and didn't understand the question right. Could you repeat?
The question is, which country or countries are nowadays commissioning, leading and coordinating the big multi-country studies? Is it still the UK?
I think it's getting more diverse. It's so we are participating in all kinds of study which are where the head commission is done in any kind of country. So also I think the world, the research world, is much more interconnected and much more also open to get projects together from various countries.
And I think, Maria, I asked you a question before, and you said it really depends on where the client's based. So
and
France and so on.
And still the majority of the European and global headquarters, they are still in the UK. So like for quant, there is still an awful lot of multinational call coming from the UK. Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. And I guess finally, just to close this down, one other question we had was about working more closely and in partnership with clients to bring our strategic expertise to bear. But because of the shifting relationships, are there other skills that we see becoming really integral to qualitative research, which we maybe don't focus on at the moment or develop enough? I mean, one that springs to mind for me is our ability to storytell. And I think that's something which still we can do better maybe than AI, because we understand the recipient as well as creating the story. Do you agree with that, Maria?
Yeah, storytelling definitely is there, and I would add any type of activation. So we used to be once leading workshops, so now it's co-creating solutions, playbooks, even business plans with the clients. So all which comes after we get to the insight is really becoming critical.
Which I guess goes back to Dirk's point about us becoming more like marketing or strategic researchers. So want to add that, or Dirk? Yeah, you'd agree.
From insight to implementation, that's the new era.
Insight implementation, very interesting. Oana, anything you'd like to add?
I was thinking now that the neuroscience has made huge leaps in the past 5 years. Everything we know about how the brain works, how the emotions are made, just to be able to back check how AI interprets emotions and so on. So I think that would be another skill or another type of knowledge. It would be very helpful to have how the brain works and coming up to date with whatever neuroscience has to tell us lately.
And Marco, anything else you'd like to add about any other skills we need to promote?
But we need to make sure to maintain the skill that are already there, and not because I think some of the technology tools, like we mentioned pop-up communities when mentioning quality scale, but we could also, now there is a lot of usage about AIMI, like artificial intelligence moderated interview, which is somehow sitting between qual and quant. I think I think they are a great tool. Again, always been like a tech kind of person, so certainly not in this call I say these are bad tech. No, this is good tech. But sometimes, especially if the clients use this tool on their own in a DIY fashion, I think we lose all the additional value of Qual. And as I say, there might be more contribution in the future, but already, you know, in the past, having psychology, senior research, anthropology, I mean, on a very basic level, we all know that maybe sometimes this pop-up community can be managed because they are digitally intermediated, they are asynchronous, they can be managed by junior researcher. And is this good for the industry or not? When instead you have a, you know, any form of other face-to-face focus group, or even now it could be an online focus group, when there is a direct interaction between participant and the researcher, that is where, you know, there is the qualitative research has a better chance, you know, to excel and to you know, and to prove really his or her value, having all these extra skills. So I don't think we need to invent a new area. We got already great anthropologists, great semioticians, great psychology. We need to make sure to use them, because I don't see them using it in every single quality research project.
Yeah, that's very interesting. We are out of time. It is 12:30. You've done incredibly well. Thank you all for sticking with us, and thank you, audience, for staying with us as well. And I think I have nothing more to say except thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Have a good rest of the day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.